Hey Kyle,
Hello, Benjamin.
how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually at home for a change, and you're not. So it's all status quo.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I realized last night that I was at the same hotel as your wife, but like,
Yeah. But then she'd already snuck off to the airport before you followed up on that. So,
yeah,
but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about other happenings in Burbank, and that is Walt Disney Company's Q4 2023 and full fiscal year 2023 earnings. They just finished up the call, which we wrapped up our live blog. So, Benji, why don't you tell me about how exciting this call was, specifically the CFO part?
okay. I've known Kevin Lesbury for a while, maybe 2 decades, and he was never known for being the most energetic man. But um, that being said, that it's not necessarily the most exciting position, so I'd rather he be good at it than energetic. But I don't, it was kind of an emotional roller coaster of a day because I don't know if you saw Warner Brothers Discovery. Their earnings not so great. They just got killed, and I was concerned. Okay, well, they both have ad-supported businesses. Warner Brothers had Barbie. Like, I'm a little worried here. But then I started getting inklings, maybe about an hour before the bell, that okay, things aren't going to be so bad. And they actually, at least on earnings per share, beat the street. Grew Disney Plus core subscribers more than anticipated, significantly more than anticipated. So, the street seems to be liking the news. Disney stock's up over 3% in after hours trading. It's not necessarily like a huge bounce back, but these bigger stocks don't tend to have those. So we'll see what happens.
So, was your inkling that it wasn't going to be so bad the fact that Iger was going to be on CNBC?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Wait,
There
way
was
to ruin my investment strategy here,
it
Kyle.
hasn't been perfect. I think Chapek ruined that at least once, where it
Right.
was a miss and he was still on.
Well, that's because he
Uh,
thought it wasn't a miss, right? Like that was the whole problem.
that's a good point. Um, as far as like news out of this, not a ton really. I guess the biggest news would be that in this, so a little confusing. So they announced previously that Hulu would be integrated into Disney Plus by the end of the calendar year, and technically that's true because they're going to be doing a beta for um, bundle subscribers in December. But then he acted like that was early, when really it
Yeah,
means
there was a lot of sort of vague slippage here, and where he kind of just didn't call it out. He just sort of re-announced a new time frame for things without saying, we're holding it back, which is probably the right thing to do in terms of like, you don't want to call attention to when you miss, but like remember, Pixar Place Hotel is supposed to be 2023. It's now January 2024. The Mufasa seemingly is moved off of the 2024 slate, or at least fiscal 2024 slate. So, and we'll go through this presentation in a minute, but you'll notice that they do not include the side that says upcoming major content releases because
yeah.
I think that's all in flex. Although I like his flex when he's like, yeah, I mean, we saved some money with the strike, but it hasn't really impacted us. Like, okay, well, take that, SAG after.
Um, Speaking of Hulu, though, so following up on that, yeah, so that'll launch a beta in December, and then he said spring 2024 originally. Later in the call, he said late March is when it would roll out officially. Um,
Which
Hulu,
seems like a very specific time frame. I mean, I guess I was just surprised that he went that specific with it, considering, it's
I
still.
think he had another senior moment, but with Hulu, like they put out this press release that they're acquiring. They finally decided they're buying the last third from Comcast, and that they basically say we're paying this much, but that amount that they state was the floor. So isn't it almost disingenuous to say that they're paying that much, because in all odds they're not? They're going to be paying
Well,
way more.
no. So, I think what they were trying to say is we're going to pay this much now. We're paying
Okay.
the floor now, and then the process is going to take some time to go through. The way it works is Comcast will hire a bank, Disney will hire a bank. They will determine a price. If it's within reason, they'll get the average. If it's way off, they'll get a third bank that they mutually agree upon, and then they figure it out from there. So I think it was a little. It was more. It was an SEC filing, not as much as a press release, and so I think that's where people got a little because when I first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, they're just saying we're going to just pay the floor. But then I realized, no, they're paying the floor this month, and then they'll figure it out because it's going to take some time.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it was clear to me that they're going to pay, like they mentioned the process, but just the way that they stated it. I'm like, are you just trying to but anyway.
Yeah, I totally get it.
The other piece of news wasn't so much news, it's just that Iger kind of laid out some like a goals or like his key things for the company going forward, saying now they're done with the fixing, they can move on to the building, which I feel like I've heard him say before. So it's kind of like, I just saw a thing today, it's like being an adult is saying after this week things will calm down, and just doing that until you die. So that's kind of the vibe I got from that. But let's go through this presentation together, shall we?
Yeah, sure. We don't have to do the second slide because that's it. Well, I mean, it's nice to see Asha premiere tonight. Looking forward to it. But
you don't want to read all the forward-looking statements?
We don't need to do that because we're not actually, the company head in question here. We'll do that for our own earnings call.
Safe harbor. Yeah. If I just say safe harbor, I think it counts.
That's a way to cheat. So basically, it's they have to position the company for growth, right? It can't just be fixing the problems. So I don't know if you remember when Bob
Iger got the Flex Seal and they're smacking it up.
Right, right. Yeah, it's exactly. So it just if you remember when Bob Iger first came, it was technology, creative content, and international expansion. Now he's got 4 sort of building priorities. Streaming profitability, mainly through reducing costs and increasing the amount that they get per user here. What's interesting is they're kind of saying, hey, we're seeing how well the theatrical films do when they go on Disney Plus, so maybe we don't need to make as many series that really Disney Plus can ride on the theatrical coattails. I don't think that means zero. I just think it means less. So that's interesting to me. The future of ESPN, and he's very vague about what this is. It's been widely reported, because Bob Iger said it, that they're looking for strategic partners. But it's clear they're trying to turn ESPN into something more than just a network. I mean, which it already is in many ways. It's obviously ESPN.com and it does well on social media and things like that. But making it more of like an app-based experience, almost like a marketplace for sports, as opposed to just, here's what's on ESPN right now. And then going to studio creativity, basically saying that they have, been making too much stuff, spreading themselves too thin, that quality over quantity here, which, obviously he was a big part of initially. And then Bob Iger really supercharged the sort of just throw everything at the wall. I'm sorry, Bob Chapek really threw everything at it, the wall for plan, when there's just billions of Marvel and Star Wars series announced, and many of which didn't get made for COVID and strike reasons, but so focusing on that and making just the content better. And then parks and experiences, it was previously announced that they're going to be spending $60 billion over 10 years. It was revealed today that it's going to be really backloaded into the back 5 years, which makes it easy to change. But that they will be going basically to pre-pandemic levels of investment, which wasn't nothing. I mean, that was, remember Galactic Star Cruiser and Avengers Campus and all that. I think initially most of the expenditures that you're going to see, obviously because we don't know of any major construction projects about to be undertaken, is the 2 cruise ships that are coming online. So
it struck me when reading parts of the release today and during the call, I feel like it used to be, parks and experiences or DPEP, and then now they're just kind of saying our experiences business. Is that a conscious thing, or is that?
Yeah, they changed it. Like, as far as I can tell, the name of the business unit is still Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products. But when they restated the financials a couple weeks ago to kind of separate out ESPN, they did call it experiences. Now, experience still includes products, but right. Yeah, they did make a conscious change to change at least the business name of that unit to become experiences. I don't know why.
I think it probably just focus grouped and sounds sexy.
Well, I mean, it's also because like they seem to be taking very generic names on these things. Like, it's sports. sports is ESPN, but they don't call it ESPN. They say sports and entertainment. They're not talking about the Walt Disney Studios or whatever. So I think it's just kind of moving into a more general name that can encompass everything else. I haven't looked to see if they updated their sort of.
Maybe this was Stags and Mares idea.
Yeah, their one idea, as they try and figure out how to fix their own mess. But they did talk about how they're going to be increasing the cost savings. So you're welcome, Mr. Peltz, by about $2 billion more than they originally planned. They did say they're not expecting any major layoffs. So it's not really clear where these cost savings are coming from, but part of it is strike related and that they can spend less on the strike. So because of the strike, they're making less, but they seem to still have, a network schedule. It's not what it would be, but it seems to be doing okay. So,
yeah, Golden Bachelor, I think, is doing surprisingly well.
Yeah. So,
yeah, here's those cost savings that we were just talking about.
Yeah. So,
saving
yeah.
money.
So you're gonna see it in the SJ&E, like accounting and stuff like that, sales, and but you can see that the decrease in the content spend is going to be about $25 billion, which is $3 billion less than the previous year. Now, 40% of that is sports, so you can do the math yourself. But the result will be the result is because of streamlining on their own accord, as well as sort of strike related delays. CapEx is actually going to be about $6 billion, which is about $1 billion more. Once again, particularly focused on the cruise business.
Did I hear correctly during the call that sports rights make up 40% of Disney's content spend?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's not half, but it's obviously, but it's, you think about all the content that we create, that Disney creates, that we focus on, and then 40% of that money that's spent on it is, just on sports. Now, obviously, there's a lot of sports content. There's more sports content than non-sports content. Just, a lot of games that are on ESPN3 or Plus or, to
the Ocho.
The Ocho. But yeah, it's a lot. The next is you're going to see free cash flow. This is basically the profit, not necessarily paper, like actual money in the bank that is increased. And you're seeing the improvement there, which is allowing them to invest and returning their dividend. And then you'll see how they decide to spend it moving forward, which will be a combination of share repurchases, dividends, and investment in the parks business.
And
so basically, if you
give
us a little bit more context on why they decided to make this announcement about the parks. So basically, they knew they were going to be making more money. Where are they going to put it? Well, they're going to put it in the parks.
And a dividend by the end of the calendar year.
Yes. At least they're recommending.
Exactly. They recommended that to the board, and I think the board just might agree.
Yeah, they typically do. So you can see the Q4 results. You're seeing improvement across the board. I don't think that's a real surprise to anybody at the parks. Just doing really strong, with the exception of Walt Disney World, which is lapping its 50th anniversary celebration, as well as they took write-downs due to Galactic Star Cruiser, as well as some other things that they've ended. So that one's the one, but that it's hard to make a bigger comparison that the business is struggling, because obviously Disneyland is performing very well, Cruise Line is performing very well, and the international parks, which is obviously a different guest base for the most part, is doing strong as well. So then they kind of highlight some of the business, some of the highlights. Elemental, it's nice to see that this actually gets called as a hit. Earned $500 million at the global box office, became the most viewed movie on Disney Plus with 26.4 million views in 5 days. So it's nice to see that what we thought was going to be a kind of continuing the animation, dud trend actually turned itself around. They did roll out Disney Plus of ads in Canada and Europe starting November 1st. 40% of new subscribers are picking the ad-based. About half of them are picking about the Disney Plus ad-based tier. and those that use the ad base actually spend more time on the service. Now, I don't know if it's because they're just watching ads and it takes longer to get through a show or what, but I thought that was a little bit interesting.
Can I say I have Hulu without ads for the first time in my life, and man, I just breezed through those like new Bob's Burgers episode. I'm like, oh, it's over already.
And say ESPN had the most watched college football season, and two of the top regular the season has featured two of ESPN's top 10 regular season college football games of all time. Had the most watched NBA opening night in 11 years, and the second most watched opening night ever. World News Tonight, which Bob Iger gave a call out to the ABC News team, I think partly because of the challenge, sort of there seems to be drama over there at ABC News regarding if they feel supported with Disney kind of evaluating the linear business. But so he did give them a shout out, and it is ranked America's #1 evening newscast for the 7th straight year. They obviously opened up the villas at the Disneyland Hotel, and Disney Wonder had its inaugural sailing in Australia and New Zealand on October 25th. So if we go into actual results, the business results, operating income was flat at linear networks, which I think is a win. Though they saw advertising decline, but they didn't see it as much as some other people. I think it kind of also spoke to the strength of sports in the quarter. The one thing about Disney with the strike is sports, isn't impacted, and they have a obviously fairly strong sports portfolio. You're seeing them simulcast and also move programming over to ABC from ESPN to kind of offset that. So they probably have a better hand on those kinds of things than Warner Bros. Discovery. Revenue at direct-to-consumer increased by 12%. Obviously, the price increase was a small part of this. A lot of this was just having more subscribers. They also lowered their costs as well. And then you're going to see the ARPU, which is the average revenue per user. That is where I say, you're going to see it just increased slightly and what was I going to say? Yeah, Disney Plus, it increased from $731 to $750, but the subscribers went up by 7 million. So that's really where you're seeing the growth on there. Sports results, which once again was just broken out this quarter for the first time, actually saw growth. ESPN is seeing ratings and revenue growth, which is perhaps not what the narrative that was out there was saying. They kind of, even though ESPN Plus is in significantly less households, more people that have it are watching it. So, and I think that's also, if you're watching linear television, so many people are kind of given up on it. Like, there's so many networks that just don't air content anymore. They're just sort of rerun channels or repurposing other content. So it makes sense, I think, as well as, I think there's strength in live sports. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to the Q4 experience results slide here. You're going to see operating income. It's
the upcoming.
No, I'm sorry. Slide 14. No, 15.
15. Okay.
Operating income increased because of the strength of the Disney Cruise Line, Vacation Club, and Disneyland Resort, partially offset by Walt Disney World, which we've already mentioned. And then international is continuing to just knock it out of the park as they fully open up in some cases. And then you're seeing the success of the investment they've made at Disneyland Paris really impact them. And Hong Kong Disneyland is seeing, I think you're seeing it, and you were just there recently. They're becoming to Disney fans. It's been open long enough that people have a brand affinity for it now. And so I think you're seeing guest spending going up. You're seeing a lot of Duffy, things like that. Like, you just walk through the park and they're wearing Disney stuff. So I can see that, they're sort of being welcomed into our little community here. And which is
also getting a lot of stuff on Shop Disney. Like, a lot of the stuff it's Shop Disney feels more global now. Not to say there weren't original things at Hong Kong Disneyland, but we definitely noticed that there were more things that you could buy domestically on sale in Hong Kong Disneyland, which was not usually the case.
Moving ahead, you're going to see there. We're getting into sort of I find this interesting. It might be a little bland, but I think it's important. You're seeing that the pricing changes. Now, is interesting to me here is that the pricing changes went to effect August 9th. Obviously, then, depending on when your renewal date is, it could take, almost a month for it to fully roll out. So you're not seeing huge impact into it in this quarter, but you should see a significant change next time. So while the ad-based program didn't change for Disney Plus, if you're on the premium plan, you saw an increase of 27%. So that should start to have a major impact in the future. So then you're going to see that this next slide is about sports rights timing. Basically, obviously, they make payments for the sports rights, based on their agreement. So ESPN has lost and gained rights. So they're saying, okay, so we're not paying the Big Ten anymore. We didn't renew with them, but we did sign a new SEC deal. There's not going to be a Pac-12 deal because there's not going to be a Pac-12. So you're seeing they're calling out here the timing shifts. So just so you can have apples to apples, because what happens sometimes with these earnings calls is like they announce the results, but they just paid it a week later, so it's in one quarter versus another quarter. Another example of that is like when spring break moves from March to April or April to March, that changes everything.
The bowl games as well is one I always hear about.
And this is probably an exciting little slide next. This is subject to change because it has already changed from the last quarter, but just calling out everything. So obviously the Adventureland Treehouse is the next project here. World of Frozen opening November 20th, which you got a chance to see. Luminous: The Symphony of Us, December 5th. The Zootopia project at Shanghai Disneyland in December, and World Celebration. That'll be all in this quarter we're currently in. Moving ahead to next year, we have the Disneyland Hotel transformation in Disneyland Paris, Pixar Place Hotel in January 30th, Fantasy Springs at Tokyo Disney. Now, obviously, those results are a little impacted by Disney doesn't own it. But June, Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. Sometime in 2024, we have Tiana's Bayou Adventure and the Cabins at Fort Wilderness. And then late 2024, the Vacation Club at the Polynesian Resort, the Treasure, December 21st, 2024, and then sometime in fiscal 2025, the Disney Adventure and the third Wish class ship. So I am actually going to do an audible here, and I want to compare this last presentation that they did. So see what they said regarding timing for everything. So
Gio has a question. Are they keeping the ship class name simpler? Wasn't it named differently?
I don't remember. In my head it was always the Wish class, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't. Or maybe wasn't it Triton class at some point?
I don't remember if that was this one or the previous one.
No, that was Dream class. So maybe this was Triton class and then they just changed the name. Or maybe Triton class was a working title. But so for example,
there were 3 of them, so it's a Trident.
Yeah. Oh, that's clever. In the last earnings, they said the Pixar Place Hotel will open in 2023. Fantasy Springs will open in spring 2024, which is true by like a day.
3 days.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure 2024. Disneyland Hotel Royal Transformation 2024. That's all on point. Vacation Club at Polynesian 2024. Still, what they call the Disney Treasure fiscal 2025. That is correct. Fiscal what they at that time called the Acquisition Ship, which we now call the Adventure 2025, and the third Wish class ship 2026. So no change there, with the exception of the slippage of Pixar Place from 2023 to January 2024. And
boring stuff. Lots of numbers.
Yeah, the rest probably of it's boring. But so that's the earnings call. It's not so much fun because there's not like a sexy news announcement that came with it,
I kind of thought I forgot that Inside Out 2 was happening. I know these aren't usually the places to drop trailers, but that would have been nice.
It's interesting too because we had an Elio trailer and that got pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Inside Out is now the next Pixar film, but like I feel like I've seen more of Elio than I have of Inside Out too.
Yeah, because you have.
Right. He did mention Deadpool is coming out in Deadpool 3 with Wolverine coming out in 2023.
Not Wolverine 3 as you originally put in the blog.
Oh, whoops, yeah. But did say Mufasa in the Zootopia sequel are in development. So we'll see. That might not actually happen next year. So no, it's interesting. No mention of upcoming Disney Plus shows or anything like that. And really called out Elemental, Little Mermaid, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as wins. So,
this meeting overall, maybe because it was the end of the year, maybe just because of reasons, it wasn't as much like, here's all the awesome stuff we're doing. It was more just like, I got this. We're okay. Felt like a very like reassuring, like, yeah, things, the stock isn't great. I'm aware of that, but I don't know why all the doom and gloom. We have a plan.
I think that too, we talked about how they were dumping all this stuff into this quarter, like all those write downs and everything. And so I'm curious to see the next earnings announcement, what that looks like when it's cleaned up. Sometimes I don't think that the street kind of picks up on the nuance of things. And so I'm curious to see what that ends up being. And will that just kind of, once they have a straight quarter, for the most part, obviously the strike impacts are overhanging it. Like, then how will Wall Street value the Walt Disney Company? And I mean, I keeping an eye on here on the after hours trading number, and still up about 3%. So, great, but not like game changing, right? We're still at $86, which is not great. Market cap of Disney is 154 billion, which, if you think about it, that's not bad considering the market capitalization of Warner Brothers Discovery is 45 billion.
45 billion.
Yeah. And Paramount was that $8 billion? I mean, like, you could swallow that and not even notice.
Speaking of Paramount, my wife was watching Quiz Lady, and I saw a little bit of it, and there are some awesome shots of the Paramount stage. So I enjoyed that. Like, oh, the Gower lot.
I gotta watch that. I haven't had a chance yet. But yeah, so that's the earnings. Any questions? Anything jump out to you, Kyle?
Not really, other than, just I'm looking forward to the integrate. I was convinced before because of how segmented my, even though I had a subscription of both Hulu and Disney Plus, I knew for a fact that it was never going to work. But now that I am actually a real bundle subscriber, I am very much looking forward to having Hulu, or at least part of Hulu, integrated into my Disney Plus app.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. What do you think the chances that it goes smoothly are?
Oh, none. And then I also forget that there's things that I like about the Hulu interface more than the Disney Plus one, but we'll see how it goes.
See, I have Hulu with Live TV, so I'm sure that's not gonna be in the Disney Plus app. So I'm still gonna use the Hulu app for that. So it's like, I mean, it'll be nice. Like, I think like I like Hulu more at home, but I like Disney Plus more on like an iPad on the road. So
okay.
I think that's how I'll characterize it. But we'll see. We'll see where Disney ends up. Obviously, the what do you call it? The specter of Nelson Peltz is looming over Disney's shadow. I don't know that this earnings call really changed anything, except they will have to identify what they want that Bob Iger's not currently doing. And that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
So
going back to the bundle, I do wonder about things like people that have plans with like premium Disney Plus, but Hulu with ads. And it's like, which way do you want to watch Echo. Do you want to watch ads? No, we don't.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that won't work, right?
Yes, it's not going to work. It's going to be like, no, you have to have both
Right.
tiers of the same thing. Yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be great.
Can't wait. And December's not that far off, you know. I don't know when in December. It could be December 30th, but you know, and like, is it a different app or is it just I'm going to update my Disney Plus app and it'll work?
I think it should just be an update. No, they said it would be so if they make a third app for this, we burn it down. Like
that's what Max did. Remember they switched from HBO Max to Max and I had to download a new app and I'm like, why?
Well, did you just see the results?
Good point. And with that, Kyle wins.
Well, enjoy beautiful downtown Burbank. And
yeah, I'm gonna take a shower and head down to Hollywood, and then who knows what news we have tomorrow, which is my code word of saying we probably have news tomorrow that I can't tell you.
Can't wait to find out for myself.
You already know.
Oh, do I? I'm sure I can look at the schedule and find out. But anyway, I'm gonna try to find an outro. I think it's gonna be a Parks Talk one, but that's okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.